Party just for me. Girl, you got me dancing. Dancing, shake the frame. This is America.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Thursday. If we have a look at the markets, it appears as though they are snowing. And yeah, Santa Claus is riding by on his with his reindeer. So very, very cute Coin 360. Well, that being said, in all sincerity, we are seeing a little bit of a mix today, okay? The markets are still up, still doing quite well, but some projects are beginning to have a little bit of a sell-off. Obviously, people are just taking profits after that, that spike that we had. So if we have a look at what's going on right now, we notice first thing that just jumps out right here is 45.56% for Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash has not only surpassed Litecoin, but also Stellar and EOS today. So pretty incredible. Bitcoin SV's, 11% pump down there, but we have a $4,111 Bitcoin. We haven't been over $4,000 in a week. XRP, 37 cents. Ethereum, $110. Now, if you guys are wondering, like, what was I talking about with the intro? Well, with the exception of Bitcoin Cash today, which is doing quite well, in reality, you do notice that a lot of the altcoin gains tend to get put back into Bitcoin. As you can see, Bitcoin dominance at 54%. So what I like to do to kind of put things into perspective, if you're not buying in directly with fiat, you go right here and switch this from USD to BTC. And as you can see right here, whereas before there were a lot of gains, you'll notice there's actually a lot more red. So what's happening is those altcoins are being sold and those profits are going into Bitcoin, or in today's case, Bitcoin Cash, possibly. But having a look at the biggest gainers of the day, we obviously have Bitcoin Cash. We have Crypto.com. Now they're up today because they have a really big announcement with Ledger, which we'll get into later. We also have Bitcoin Diamond, Stratis, some good news that came out. We'll get into that as well. Pivx, Aeon, Chainlink, Omisego, ELF, and Bitcoin SV all up. Obviously, switching it, as you can see, to the Bitcoin comparative, you notice that the numbers are a little bit lower. So I just want to just kind of like help you guys, if you're new, to know how to just sort of switch between the two. So the question is what is going on right now? Is this a suckers rally? Is this a bull trap? Or have we actually officially broken out? Well, I'll be quite honest. I wouldn't have minded staying down in this valley a little bit longer. I had some cash on the side, but unfortunately it wasn't on an exchange. I would have to buy manually, and I just never pulled the trigger. So I feel like I would like some more cheap Bitcoin, but hey, if I miss the boat, I miss the boat. Happens to the best of us, right? So that being said, what are the thoughts about Bitcoin right now? Well, you have veteran technical trader, Peter Brandt. Now, he has been pretty good at calling this, all right? And he pretty much told Yahoo Finance that the price of Bitcoin could hit $4,600, but he thinks that it's probably going to touch the $3,000 levels again. Obviously, he said, you don't know, we could have a bull run, or it could go to $1,200. I mean, clearly. Now, the thing that we talked about yesterday was Mark Dow. He is I would consider this guy to be somewhat of an expert trader, and he pretty much called the top, shorted all the way down, as you can see right here. I mean, this is an incredible call. So he pretty much started shorting right here all the way down, and he just yesterday closed his position. He said he's done, that's it, it's enough. Okay, so he's not looking to short anymore. So that's good news. And I don't know if it's good news, but it's something to definitely consider. And also, if we look at this over here, you do have guys like Dimitriy Gurkovskiy, chief analyst at Robo Forex, and he's basically saying that the current move is nothing but just a correction after the previous downtrend. The current correction level is approaching 23% Fibonacci, or $3,930. Obviously, we passed that at the time of writing this article, but he basically says we might see a 4,427, but in short term, he's thinking that the price is going to go back down again to around 34, 31. 3,100, okay? I actually personally think it's going to go down a little bit again, but then again, that's just me being biased and wanting to buy some more cheap Bitcoin. So, don't listen to me, guys. But in all sincerity, what did just happen? Now, we've seen the stock market taking a hit. A lot of people are wondering, is there a correlation between crypto and the stock market? Now, in reality, there's not enough data for us to have a clear example. Like, we're just speculating, because this is really the first time that it's happened, right? I mean, the stock market has been on a tear, and just recently you saw the Dow, the S&P 500, and NASDAQ hit a low, all-time low of this year. And obviously this has to do with the Fed hike interest rates, okay? Now, The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 351.98 points and closed at its lowest level this year so far, erasing 380 points that came prior to this. Now, I'm not a big stock market guy, just so you guys know. I'm just going to let you know what's happening. But for traders, it says the Fed statement and Chairman Jerome Powell's subsequent press conference did not suggest that the central bank would slow its pace of rate hikes as quickly as some had hoped. Now, you're probably wondering, why are we talking about stocks? Just stick with me. We got a long transition into whether or not this is actually affecting crypto or not. So basically, you have the Dow and the S&P, which are both in correction and on track for their worst December performance since the Great Depression of 1931. Wow. I can only imagine what it's like to be in stocks right now, but I assume it can't be worse than crypto, right? So the Fed decided to hike its benchmark overnight lending rate by 1/4 point on Wednesday to a target range between 2.25 and 2.5. So, I mean, literally, the question is, and this came from Reddit, so I was looking, I like to read through Reddit, I like to read, I'm very interested in opinions of regular people, believe it or not. Like, it's nice to listen to these experts, but sometimes I like to just hear what's going on, and they say, okay, so the Fed raised the interest rates again today, and stocks have been selling off as investors lose confidence in the market. Many astute investors speculate that the run-up since the aftermath of the GFC has been fueled by a quantitative easing and low interest rates. So, the Fed also indicate that they plan to continue hiking rates at least twice over 2019. So how will Bitcoin fare in this evolving financial landscape? Most people seem to have the opinion that small, volatile markets sell off first in times like this, but we're not seeing that right now in crypto. So I thought this was a great conversation starter, and this is exactly where I want to go with today's episode. I want to talk about the longevity of Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin realistically something that can stay around for the next few decades? Is it actually a store of value? If these institutions come in, at what rate? Are they going to just like rush in? Is it going to be a tidal wave, right? So I want to dive into that today. So the first thing I want to talk about is some of the opinions of some key people that have been in the space for quite some time. Number one, coming from Arthur Hayes over at BitMEX. Now, he's been very negative to a lot of different things. I mean, he called Ethereum a double-digit, shitcoin and all this other stuff. So now we're talking about Bitcoin. So he goes on and says, this is what he says. He says, Apple has more cash on its balance sheet than the whole value of the industry that we're talking about. So it's insignificant in terms where it is today. Could it become a bona fide asset class in the next 10 years? Maybe. The jury is out on whether or not Bitcoin is actually secure over the long run. It's had a decade, which is pretty good, but it's still an experiment. So yes, the jury is out, but it's looking like it could be a new way of raising capital and sending value around the world. Now, you also had Alexis Ohanian, and he... Oh, well, he's the co-founder of Reddit, if you don't know. And he basically kind of disagreed. He said, I do think as a store of value, Bitcoin has actually been one, and it's been particularly good for people outside of the country. A tremendous resource as well. We've seen Venezuela, all these other countries, right? He says, and what we're seeing is money getting moved out of countries on thumb drives where gold is literally being confiscated from these people on their way out. Now, I wanted to play you guys a really important clip that I found. Now, this came out 6 days ago, and this was from CoinDesk's Consensus Invest Conference. Now, we did speak about this, but I never had a chance to actually let you listen to the audio. And I want you to hear Jeff Sprecher and his opinion of Bitcoin and where it's going and why he thinks it's going in this direction. And, he was also joined by Kelly Loeffler, the CEO of Bakkt as well. Take a second to listen to this. I think it's really important.
Somehow Bitcoin has lived in a swamp and has emerged and survived, been attacked and should have died. And there are thousands of other tokens, all of which you could maybe argue are better for some purposes than Bitcoin. But yet Bitcoin continues to survive and thrive and attract a lot of attention. We're used to that in traditional finance. Like after President Trump was elected, the Dow Jones Industrial Average went over 20,000. It was huge, a huge piece of news that the Dow's at 20,000. I tell you now that I've mentioned this, as you're listening, in the news and somebody talks about what the market did, they're going to talk about the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We find that oftentimes in finance, it's not about being the best, because we can all develop something that's better. It turns out to be about being the broadest and the most kind of commonly accepted. And for whatever reason, Bitcoin has sort of become that, at least for us Americans. Our federal government has acknowledged that that is the only token of all the thousands of tokens that they are right now prepared to give some kind of regulatory certainty to.
So it's an interesting standpoint how he compares it to the Dow Jones Industrial Average and pretty much says that it's not the best, but it's accepted by the broader community. In reality, Bitcoin has first mover advantage. Could it be surpassed by another crypto? That's not to say it can't be. However, there are so many people connected with Bitcoin, with the Lightning networks getting set up, with these satellites that they're sending into space, the fact that the government, the SEC's come out and said it is not a security, okay? All of these things are really positioning Bitcoin to maintain its #1 status, right? But outside of just whether or not Bitcoin will remain king, I think the real question is, what is actually going to happen when these institutions come in? Is it going to be fast? Is it going to be like a tidal wave, right? So I found this really interesting article from March over at OmniX, and this article goes on to basically explain that if large amounts of institutional money were to hit crypto all at once, there would be nowhere for all the money to go. At the end of 2017, there were 79.2 trillion in global assets under management, according to BCG. Even if just 1% of that amount flowed into crypto in a relatively short time frame, that would be 800 billion, which would represent the all-time high market cap that we had seen, and that was just with the retail investors, okay? This would create a massive bubble and would probably not be good considering how fast it would have changed overnight. Well, this seems somewhat reminiscent of what actually happened, right? So the second thing to consider is, although institutional solutions are rapidly developing, the current market structure as a whole is not mature enough, unfortunately, to handle this such scale and volume. Volume being key. A lot of these cryptos, even sometimes with Bitcoin, it's really difficult to buy up large quantities without causing slippage, which is why you're seeing so much over-the-counter trading, which, not to mention, I don't have the article pulled up right now, but the over-the-counter trading right now is massive. I mean, massive, guys. I wish I had the article right now. I forgot to pull it up. Maybe tomorrow's news I'll show you. But yeah, these guys are buying. They are buying the dip, and they are buying it hard. Trust me, guys. So that is pretty much what I wanted to say. Now, how long is it going to take? Well, if we scroll down here, we do realize that investments come in cycles. Now, let's have a look at this and then dive in a little bit. I'll get out of your way. So obviously when we start first, we have retail investors. These are just the individual investors like you and I. Unlike the rise of other asset classes, the interesting thing about crypto, especially Bitcoin, is that it was actually retail investors, the individuals, that came in first. You had retail adoption. You had a bunch of, anarchists, libertarians, technology, people basically that were really good at tech, okay? And they were the first investors. Now, if we move on to the second, we see that we have liquid crypto funds. So this was pretty much sparked by the ICO craze in 2016 and the 2017 bull market. So you had a bunch of different crypto funds that were set up, both by early crypto investors with really no background in traditional finance and by people from the financial services industry with prior institutional investment experience. Now, we move on to the third layer, which is proprietary trading firms and market makers. So obviously OTC market makers like Jump Trading, Genesis Trading, Cumberland, and Circle as well have been really active in the space for a number of years. However, the increase in institutional investment has sparked further growth in their business and invited new participants. So this is pretty much where we're at right now. Crypto exchanges are shifting their focus to attract institutional clients and have started to upgrade their infrastructure. At the same time, you're seeing guys like Bakkt and NASDAQ coming in. Meanwhile, there's early indications of traditional long-only asset managers, right? So let's talk about this, and this is number 4, traditional asset management firms, including hedge funds and long-only mutual funds, right? Well, hedge funds, what do they need? Well, they need prime broking services. They need execution infrastructure, services including guaranteed latency and access to reliable real-time market data, physically settled derivatives, okay? So obviously pending regulatory approval, Bakkt, hopefully, is going to be the first one to really do this, okay? Then the other thing is long-only asset managers. So obviously this involves custody, regulation, valuation, and research, okay? Obviously long-only asset managers invest on the basis of fundamentals, and they need tested valuation frameworks, which unfortunately don't exist in a multitude right now for crypto, and benchmarks as well. And then we also have investment banks. So there's been a few that have been making headlines lately. You've been hearing things about Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Citi. They're looking at it, but they haven't really pulled the trigger. So why is that? Well, one obstacle is, the lack of regulatory clarity, as highly regulated institutions, banks, are unlikely to move ahead before those are in place. And then finally, we find ourselves with pension funds, with global assets under management. So pretty much that's where we're at right now. So this is going to take time, and it's going to require market structure. And what all the institution investors really need is bigger and more liquid markets. So for the larger investors to be able to make meaningful allocations, it takes time for any asset class to grow to a certain size, okay? Now, I want to talk about this that says financial advisors are buying large amounts of Bitcoin, and this is what I was talking about. So discussing the current state of the cryptocurrency markets, pretty much you have Dr. Prash. He's the CEO and founder of Caleb and Brown, which, if you guys aren't familiar, it's Australia's largest retail cryptocurrency broker service, and he says that these international financial advisors are adding Bitcoin to their portfolios. He says these are wealth managers who have had their own personal cryptocurrency portfolios. They see value in it, and I've dealt with 5 or 6 of them personally myself. So according to him, at least half of their clients are from abroad, with the majority coming from the US. He also shares the current state of regulatory framework and says that it's causing advisors to be a little bit wary. Same thing with the banks, right? But he does hold that once cryptocurrencies become a recognized financial instrument, the tides will turn. So at the moment, they are afraid because there's no consistency in the messaging from the top down. I mean, even down to taxes, like they're not really 100% clear. And what they have stated, it seems a little confusing, right? So he also goes and talks about the future of the crypto market, and he says that I think we'll see a few more cycles like this. While the market cap is still small, we will continue to see volatility. Obviously, volatility will go down over time. You guys know this. So he says there are some investors who've been holding out and waiting for prices like this, and recently we have seen them buying the dip. So let's talk about this. A lot of people were freaking out because Coinbase just moved $5 billion. What? Okay, well, let's dive in before we start freaking out and see exactly why they're trying to raise this money. Well, it's saying that they've done this to basically significantly expand the number of digital assets that can be listed on their platform. As you guys know, they've been adding a lot recently. Now, there are some conspiracies and speculation as to why which tokens are being listed, but that is for another video. For their purposes, the $5 billion was moved to upgrade the storage model. So according to the company, that migration included 5% of all Bitcoin, 8% of all Ethereum, and 25% of all the Litecoin in circulation, respectively. That's pretty massive. So regulators and auditors were involved at every stage, which is good. So this is, they're making sure that everything's running smoothly. And it's interesting because this was actually something that they planned on starting back in October, and this was with new key generation process. So basically, they take the private key and apply a cryptographic technique called Shamir's secret sharing, which is an algorithm that used to take a piece of private data and split it into a bunch of chunks that you can divide. So this is basically just a way of them figuring out how they're going to deal with being able to, have custody of all of these different ERC20s and whatever else it is that they choose to add in the future. So the blinders full of billions of dollars worth of keys are then divided among various secure locations, requiring multiple Coinbase employees to work together over the phone in order to unlock the cryptocurrency. So this actually creates a little bit of a decentralization. A little bit. All right. So while many other Bitcoin custodians prefer to rely on multi-signature wallets rather than a single key divided into parts, Coinbase devised this strategy to accommodate assets that don't yet work with multi-sig wallets. Now, in the same vein, Coinbase has also announced Coinbase Earn, which you can pretty much, it's like a educational thing, right? So the first thing that they have is 0x, and basically you go there, you watch the videos, and they'll give you $1 worth of 0x. So if you want to make $1 worth of 0x, go watch these videos, guys. So I think that's pretty cool incentive moving forward. Now, let's get into some coin news of the day, starting with our man, Vitalik. Why? Well, I thought this was funny because it says that, let me get into it in a second, but okay, so long story short, he donated $300,000 in crypto to 3 blockchain startups. So, and this was based all on Twitter, I guess. He did this all over there. So the 3 projects were Prismatic Labs, Chain Safe Systems, and Sigma Prime. All the projects are working to build the blockchain's network's next iteration of Ethereum 2.0. So Sigma Prime is building an Ethereum 2.0 client called Lighthouse. Prismatic Labs is working on Ethereum scalability, and ChainSafe, is also building an Ethereum 2.0 client. So the joke that I wanted to make was, I guess Vitalik is giving away Ethereum after all. Okay. All right, moving on. So we obviously have Binance, CEO, CZ. They're still moving forward. They're still doing their thing. He says 2018's been a tough year. He thinks that was the year of the correction. So as far as what Binance is doing, the crazy thing is that they're planning to release over 10 new fiat to crypto exchanges in 2019, with 2 or 3 of them set to launch over the next few months. Obviously, they're planning on rolling out their DEX as well. And he says that CZ says that they welcome regulatory involvement as they execute their roadmap. He says we want clarity, but we also want good, sensible regulations. We want regulations that promote innovation and not things that totally hamper innovation. There's still too much uncertainty in many countries in the world regarding regulations around the cryptocurrency industry. We know this for sure, guys. So moving on to some other news, you guys saw Waves. I mean, Waves was probably the coin to be in during that whole dip that we took, that little crash. I mean, Waves has just been making waves. Oh, see? But, okay. The public blockchain network Waves just raised $120 million to build a private version of its platform for public institutions and enterprises. So according to Bloomberg, the money was raised from private investors in a round of fundraising led by London-based financial services group Dolphin. The platform's native cryptocurrency Waves surged on the news, as we saw, and the price went up from $2.63 all the way up to $4.46 at the time of this. I don't know what it is right now. It could be higher, it could be lower. But yeah, I mean, that was an incredible run that Waves had during, essentially a time when every other crypto was bleeding in the streets. Also want to talk about Tron Arcade. So they announced that it's planned to establish a $100 million fund, and the fund is a fast-rising networks. Now, let me restart this. Let me start this whole thing over. So basically, Tron is doing Tron Arcade, okay? We spoke about this. It's interesting. It's gaming on the blockchain. I'm certainly interested. We'll have to keep an eye out on this as it progresses. Now, talking about why Stratis has been also really doing very, very well these past couple days. Well, they have the release of the distributed ledger private blockchain solutions. And on top of that, they also have this MediConnet partnership that they had. So basically, they're going to be utilizing Stratis' technology stack to build a suite of offerings set to meet the needs of pharmacies, resolving issues such as prescription drug abuse and a bunch of other things. So yeah, I think that was sort of the big news that came out for the day. Also, finally, the Icon incentive scoring system, guys. So if you're interested in how you can stake your Icon, okay, so you can actually get rewarded, this is finally how you guys do it. So I'm not going to go into this. It's very, very long, but I will drop that below. I know some people were interested in how they can actually stake their Icon, including myself. So there you go. We also have the partnership between IOTX and China Mobile. So this is a joint union of these companies. They're going to be focused on bringing frontier technology products and solutions to the Internet of Things industry. So as the first only blockchain company invited to join the alliance, IoTeX is going to help by bridging blockchain and IoT technology with real-world use cases, by building in-depth expertise in areas like smart cities, trusted computing, supply chain, and more. So that is just more examples of people building. Now, let's talk about why my crypto is the #1 coin of the day. Well, it looks like they've recently partnered with Ledger. That's right, Ledger Nano S, and pretty much they're going to allow users to be able to pay for things using crypto. So while the press release doesn't specify which cryptocurrencies it will support, Crypto.com's wallet does feature 7 fiat currencies and 6 cryptocurrencies. Also to note, just side note, Ledger also recently opened a new office in New York to develop its institutional target custody offering called Ledger Vault. So this is really interesting, guys. Also, side note, Ledger is actually 30% off right now, which is interesting. They had a 50% off deal. Now they're doing 30% off to the holidays. So if you guys want, I'll drop a link below. You know, obviously affiliate link. You guys don't have to use it. It just helps the channel out. But just kind of wanted to throw that in there as well. So anyway, moving on, I wanted to talk about Peter Thiel and the investments that these guys are making. So you're finally seeing these VCs sort of like get involved again, right? So the cryptocurrency investment and infrastructure platform Layer 1 has successfully closed a 2.1 million seed round of funding. Investors who took part in this include PayPal's co-founder Peter Thiel and Barry Silbert's digital currency group, which we speak about quite frequently on this channel. So they go on to say, we believe there's huge potential for hands-on, mission-driven investors to take their concentrated positions in a single cryptocurrency and then dedicate talent and resources to significantly accelerate their development. So unlike typical crypto asset platforms, basically Layer 1 takes a fairly different approach. The company takes a long-term position in certain digital assets, which bring promising technologies and network effects. So, this is long-term and looking to basically facilitate and help the growth. Now, I'm bringing this up again one more time because I came out with this article. Somebody in the comments said that this was fake news, okay? So they're reporting once again that the lower house of the French parliament has rejected the amendments to the 2019 finance bill, which would ease crypto-related taxation. So is anybody else living in France that we can, I just want validation on this because I've heard from some people that this is not happening, this isn't true, yet I've seen multiple reports that this is happening. So I'm just kind of curious, guys. Maybe you can give me some input in that. And before we go, I wanted to end on something fun. So we have Christmas 2018, best Bitcoin gifts to give this year. Let's have a look. Well, you have Bitcoin the card game, Just Hodl mouse pad, Bitcoin stud earrings, a Bitcoin necklace, okay, Bitcoin decals, Bitcoin pillows, Bitcoin doormats, Bitcoin phone cases, a personalized wooden Bitcoin keychain, retro trucker Bitcoin hat, Bitcoin neckties. This is pretty cool. Sonic the Hedgehog collecting Bitcoin. That's a cool t-shirt. Bitcoin mugs. Paper wallets, I guess, that come in, convenient or nice little things, Bitcoin gift cards, and hardware wallets. Yeah, there you go. The phone that's coming out as well. Yeah, so those are some great ideas, guys. Oh, and also, I wanted to say, I mentioned the Ledger thing before. Yes, the Ledger is 30% off, but this time they're actually applying it to all of their products. So last time they only did it to the matte black version, but this time you can actually get the Ledger Nano S. Instead of $100, you can get it for $60, but you can also get the different colors. They have the yellow, pink, green, blue, and they also have transparent, which I think is cool. I'm a fan of those transparent things. I used to always have that like see-through phone as a kid, and also Ledger Blue. So this usually goes for $270 and it's only going for $200. So, I mean, I don't know, guys. I'm just saying, like, you usually don't see these kind of deals on these things. They usually don't ever have deals. So I've seen them do two deals just this December alone. So that being said, guys, if you are interested, like I said, I do have my links below. They are affiliate links, but you don't have to use them. They just help the channel. Yeah, so that's basically it. But guys, it's not all about that. We are giving back as well. So we do have to do our t-shirt giveaway. I don't have the t-shirt on me right now, but it was the Unibright t-shirt. So we have to pick a winner. So we're going to go to yesterday's video. Okay, right here. We're going to copy it. Go over to this YouTube random comment generator. Let's see. All right, let's see. We have 297 unique comments. So that's 297 people who could potentially win. Now let's start the raffle. Drum roll, please. Why is the picture of the BitTorrent guy of him getting a haircut? I have no idea. I thought that was really crazy, Marcus. I don't know why they chose to, of all pictures, right? I'm gonna be in an article. Why don't you just put the picture of me getting a haircut, right? That's totally related to Bitcoin. Okay, obviously you didn't ask for the shirt, but that was a really funny comment. So we'll pick somebody else. We'll pick another winner. That was actually, I was thinking the same thing too. It was such a silly picture. I am here for the shirt. Okay, great. Then you won. So Donnie L, definitely hit me up. So what you do is you just come over here to my channel and you see this about, go right there, and then just, hit me up in the email that's in that description, and you are the winner of the shirt. And if you guys didn't win anything today, don't worry. We do giveaways all the time on the channel. It's always a fun place. If you guys want, you can head over to the Crypto Zombies Telegram chat, link in description. Totally free, guys. Obviously, it's not a paid group or anything like that. It's just a community where we hang out. And that being said, guys, that's it for me today. It's Thursday. We're one day closer to the weekend. Are we going to see some green tomorrow? I wouldn't be surprised if if tomorrow we wake up to a slightly red market, guys, so just be prepared for that. We've had a solid week of nothing but gains, you know, so just be ready for that. But like I said, you want these opportunities to accumulate because one of these days, Bitcoin's not coming back down. That's it. These 3,000, 4,000, even 5,000, 6,000 levels are going to be gone. So just keep that in mind. Not saying go out and spend your life savings. Just keep that in mind. That's all. And always be safe out there. Thank you for everyone that's been coming back to the channel, everyone that's been subscribing, everyone that's been liking, everyone that's been commenting, joining the Telegram chat, signing up for the Blockchain Brief newsletter. I freaking love you guys. I appreciate it. And you're the reason that I do this every single day. That being said, my name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And peace out.